If you're interested in learning more about how you can develop your financial security in your coaching business so that you can then step to the next level of abundance, stay tuned. I'm going to be talking all about financial safety and giving you some tips for how you can cultivate that in your coaching business. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health, life and spiritual coaches get more clients so they can generate more income and live their most aligned life. And today on the show, I'm talking all about financial safety, which sounds like a really heavy going topic, but I think it's a really important thing to think about and discuss, because quite often the conversations in the coaching space are all about the other end of the spectrum in terms of, making more money and having 5-figure months and 6-figure years and 7-figure years, which is all good and well if that's what your goals are and your aims are. But I think it's really important to actually have this other conversation, which isn't the polar opposite. Like you would think that financial safety and, hitting your baseline, which is something I'm going to talk about, is like the opposite end of the scale to that, but it's actually not. These things are really, really important, because if you don't feel financially safe at different levels of income, you're not going to feel financially safe when you're at 6 or 7 figures. So I'm going to explain a bit about what I mean by financial safety, and I'm going to give you some tips so that you can develop that in your business and also know where you might need to go off and do a bit more work to work on that feeling of financial safety. Big disclaimer before I get into this episode, I am not a financial advisor. Please do not take any of this as financial advice. I am not that person. This is just my experiences. I'm sharing more of my experiences here, so do not take this as financial advice. I also think this conversation is really important because we can't truly enjoy our businesses if we don't have financial safety. Like, it's such a important thing that we need to have. If you think about the pyramid, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got the kind of safety thing is the basis of that. Like, you can't really get much further. If you're really panicking about your financial safety, whether that's the reality of it or not, it's going to make it really difficult for you to really enjoy all the things that you should be enjoying from running a business, all of the time freedom, all of the enjoyment from your work, all of the living your purpose. Like, that's just not going to be experienced if you don't have that foundation of financial safety, either the physical reality of it or the feeling of it. So what is financial safety? So for me, I think financial safety has two sides to it. There's the physical reality, like, do you have enough money to meet your basic financial needs to keep you safe? And also the feeling of financial safety. And these two don't always correlate. And I think it's really important, as I've been saying, to recognize that there's these two different sides. Not having your physical financial needs met and not being physically financially safe is a serious issue. Like, it is an emergency. It needs to be addressed very, very quickly. That's one particular problem, and the feeling of financial safety is another. Now, I've experienced both of these different elements together and separately, and I know many of my clients have as well. So I think, like I say, I think it's a really interesting thing to think about for yourself. And certainly if you are starting your coaching business, growing your coaching business, even if you're an established coach, like, this is something that can crop up from time to time in lots of different ways. So I really hope this conversation is going to be useful. When it comes to a feeling of financial safety, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because you can have plenty of money in your bank account, but if you don't feel financially safe, then that can give you a lot of anxiety. It can still create all of those problems that I was talking about earlier in terms of you not being able to enjoy your coaching business because you're still worrying and fretting about a lack of income, a lack of money, when the reality of that might not actually be the case. So again, it's really useful to examine these two different things. So the first thing I wanted to talk about in relation to financial safety is money mindset. Now, obviously, money mindset is a huge thing. If you haven't come across this term, it's basically looking at how our experiences as children and young adults kind of gets embedded into our subconscious and conscious minds and really influences how we think and therefore how we feel and behave about money. And this can have a multi-dimensional impact on lots of different things. And if you take it to the level in terms of kind of like the metaphysical level, it can really impact how we manifest and how we attract things into our lives and our businesses. So money mindset is a huge thing. If you want to check out more on that, do check out Denise Duffield-Thomas. She's like the money mindset queen. I'm in her Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp and have been for years, and it's really fascinating. She covers some really great processes in terms of examining your money mindset in more detail. So let's say, for example, as a child, you had no examples of anyone running their own business. Everyone was in like standard 9-to-5 jobs. You might just not kind of see the way that businesses work and the way that you might get paid and the way that income comes into a business as safe, because you don't have any other examples of how that is. And even if the reality is that actually, like, you've got, running costs there, that this money's coming in, etc. You've got systems and processes there. You can still feel financially unsafe. And that just can be a bit of a throwback to, everyone I know was in a 9-to-5 job. And, that was very much for me. I didn't really know anyone who ran their own business, and I came from initially in a local authority, a council job that was quote unquote a safe job. I honestly don't think there's that many safe jobs these days, but it was a safe job. And even when I moved into a temporarily funded role in the voluntary sector, I can remember my parents being like, you must be crazy leaving the council, it's a job for life. But in all honesty, I would have hated my life. And I mean, this is no offence to anyone who works for a council or who has a standard 9-to-5 job. Like, if you enjoy that and that is making you happy, then that's amazing. Not everyone is going to be happy on the same thing. But for me, I just was never going to feel fulfilled in that kind of job. So for me, understanding that the way that my money is going to work is not going to look like how other people's money looks. Like, my friends, when I tell them the way that my business works with money, they are like horrified. They are horrified at the idea that the way that their money is set up and the way that they're paid is so completely different to the way that it works for me. But I mean, in reality, it's not actually that different, which we'll get onto in a sec. But these different things come into play. And I mean, that's like quite a practical thing. I'm talking about money mindset here, but that's actually quite a practical example. But basically, if you have had experiences around money that kind of like embed this feeling of lack on this feeling of not feeling safe with it. And some people, they might really struggle to attract money because ultimately they don't feel safe with money. So what they do is, as soon as they get money, they spend it. And it's really starting to examine these behaviours and really look at what's going on, what's driving that, how these things are manifesting in physical terms, in terms of your behaviour with money, can be really, really interesting. But like I say, the feeling of being financially not safe is not always linked to the reality of that. So you can have plenty of abundance in your business and still feel financially unsafe. And it's unpacking what that is, because like I say, it can make you not enjoy your business. It can make you chase after goals that perhaps are not aligned. It can shift your decision making. Like, when you're in that situation where you feel unsafe financially, like, that's not a place where you are regulated. Like, your nervous system is completely dysregulated because that is a threat. Like, not being financially safe. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people are talking about the cost of living. You have to pay to live, unfortunately. So these things do like trigger that really primal, like, shit, I am not safe. And we need to kind of bring that regulation back. And I think, again, if you're in that place where you're like thinking, oh my God, I've got, it's a really difficult place to act from. So I'm going to be giving some really practical tips around how you can manage that. But it's really interesting to look at your money mindset. If this is you, and if you kind of know in reality you're okay, but mentally you're really panicking all the time, then that's something to look at and address, and look at your money mindset, and look at some of the tips that I'm going to share in a sec as well. And while we're on the topic of money mindset, I also want to say there's a bit of a thing where a lot of like business coach types like me will say, when something's not going right or something hasn't worked, that it's a mindset block. I don't believe that that's the case. So I just wanted to put it into context as well. Like, some things are mindset, but some things are not mindset. So not everything is a money mindset block. I don't particularly want to grow my business to like 6-7 figures. That's not really what I want. And I don't think that I've got a block, because I don't have this constant hunger, I think, for more. And I mean, I could talk about this in a completely separate episode, and I could talk about the 6 and 7 figure business thing and all of that stuff, but I don't think everything is a mindset block, but a lot of stuff is, just to make it complicated. So it's definitely worth looking at your money mindset around this topic as well. So on the practical side of things, there are a few things that you can do to help you feel more safe, more financially safe in your business, and just make sure that you are operating from that secure, regulated place, which is going to help you generate more income, attract more abundance, and make better decisions in your business. The first thing is to know your keeping the lights on figure. Now, basically this is how much do you need to make in your business to be financially safe, really, like for your business to still be ticking over, but also for your life and for the things that you need in your life. Now, depending on the stage of business, I'm going to get into that in a minute, not all of the income that you need for that needs to come from your business, but you do need to know what that figure is and where that money's coming from. So it's looking at your business expenses, how much you need to pay yourself, and to know how much you need to pay yourself, you might want to look at like, what is it that you need to live? This is what I do in my business. Like, I know, this is how much I pay myself each month. I pay myself a wage and then top that up with dividend, and I know that's how much I need to take out of the business, therefore how much I need to make. I know what my expenses are, and it's really helpful knowing that, because that's what I need to, that's like the baseline of what I need to be making to be financially safe. So just working out that figure and knowing what it is really empowering, because you can do what you want with that figure. You can be like, right, the business is not making that much now, so therefore I need to go away and find income from somewhere else and money from somewhere else. Or you can be like, actually, it's brilliant, I'm hitting that really consistently every month, I can relax, it's all good. It just empowers you to know where you're at financially within your business. And then the next thing is to know your cash flow. Now, honestly, I cannot overstate the importance of my cash flow in my business. So I work with an accountant, he manages all the accountancy side of things, but I keep a cash flow, like a simple spreadsheet in Google Sheets, a cash flow spreadsheet that, honest to God, I live and die by this. And it tells me at what point my business will drop off a cliff in the future, so that I can always kind of see when that's coming. I can always manage that. It just makes, like, out of anything that makes me feel financially safe. And, I'm the main earner in my family. I earn more than my husband. And the cash flow spreadsheet is what stops me going crazy, is what keeps me rooted and grounded and knowing the black and white figures in the business. So honestly, I cannot overstate the importance of the cash flow spreadsheet for me. Basically, it allows you to map out what is coming in, what your expenses are, how much is going out, and you can see how that kind of maps out ahead for the future. So I can always see, like I say, how many months ahead of me I have got in secure income, and then at what point it drops off. So, and obviously, all businesses will have a drop-off point at some point, depending on how much reserves you've got and things like that. But it just really helps me feel financially safe to look at that spreadsheet. And I look at it almost every day, just to put in, when a new sale comes in, I add that in, etc. It really helps me feel safe to see that kind of like going out for the months ahead, so that I know that I've got that financial safety. And for me personally, I feel better about that. Like, I feel like I've got more control over my financial situation and my financial reality than if I was in a paid job where they could let me go, make me redundant, etc. Like, I feel much more safe knowing that I've got that level of control over things. I also know that if I was in a job like that, I would not be very happy. So it all kind of works out well in the end. But yeah, that cash flow spreadsheet is so helpful. So get yourself one if you haven't already got one. It can be fantastic help. So another tip that is really helpful, and if you follow any kind of financial advisory people on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, many of them will recommend building an emergency fund. And I think this makes really good common sense. Like, this is more of a personal finances thing, but when you have an emergency fund, again, I think it just makes you feel more resourced. You know that you've got something there if the shit hits the fan, if something unexpected happens. Like, that's a really great thing to have in place to help you feel financially safe. And actually kind of like another offshoot of this in terms of your personal finances. So I've got certain insurances that cover me and my income if I was critically ill, really sick, couldn't work, that kind of thing. That's another thing that can also bring you some peace of mind if that's something that you are ever concerned about as well. But just on the personal finances side of it, I think that's a really practical thing, is to start and build a emergency fund, even if it's just a little bit at a month at a time. And then a final tip is to create some recurring income streams. Now, I feel like recurrent income streams in the online coaching industry are held as this holy grail of having all of this recurring income that gives you all this financial security. However, the reality of it is not just that you build the recurring income stream, but that you actually have the marketing systems to back that up. If you're interested in learning more about that, please do check out the episode of the show that I did all about recurring income. I will link to that. I will link to that in the episode notes. So do check that out, because I talk a lot about how to create generate more recurring income in your business, but also what that actually means and whether or not it actually makes much of a difference. One of my big goals going into 2023 was to build more recurring income streams. And I've built the streams, but in terms of like how much income they're bringing in, it's not massive. However, at the same time, I do feel more financially safe now than I have done ever in my business. And that's because of cash flow, not recurring income. So I think I explained a bit more about it in that episode of the show. So if you want to learn more about that, then do go and check that out. But building some recurring income streams can be helpful for a lot of people in giving you that more like baseline of financial security, depending on what your business model looks like. And like I said, there are pros and cons. So do check out that episode of the show if you want to learn more about the recurring income side of things, because like I said, it can be helpful, but actually there's sometimes other ways of doing it, but check that out for more. And then next, a few things that you might want to consider depending on what stage of business you're at. So if you're in the very early stages of developing your coaching business, it's highly likely that you will need some income from somewhere else other than your business. I think that is the case for 99.9% of coaches when they are starting out. And that might be from savings, it could be like a redundancy payment, it could be that you are still working. Like I still worked when I started my health coaching business. I did that alongside working full time, and then I dropped down to part time, and eventually that role ended. I was talking a little bit about my role in the voluntary sector, my job, and that went down to part time, and then the role just ended about the same time as my maternity leave. So everything kind of lined up exactly the way it needed to, actually. So I was working alongside that. It could be a partner's income, but you're likely to need some other income in place. And again, you know, some people chuck themselves in at the deep end. And I think if you know that you step up in that situation, then that can make sense. But also, I just think it's about protecting like your nervous system and that feeling of regulation and not that horrible, panicky, awful feeling. And like I have had that in my business. There's been a couple of times when I've really looked at my cash flow and thought like, oh, fuck, things are not looking good. Something needs to change. And that's not a nice feeling, and it's not a good place to be in. So remedying that as quickly as possible makes a lot of sense. But like I say, at the start of your business, it is about making sure that you've got some income or some finances there to support you while you build your business up. And then if you're at the stage where you are in that real growth stage, like you've got everything set up, you are actively seeking clients, you're getting clients, things are starting to move, then I think a great aim in terms of financial safety is about getting at least 6 months of your running costs kind of built up and ahead, so that you know that you've got that financial security going ahead for 6 months, and that you've got some time should things like start to change or dry up or whatever. You've got some time where you are safe, that you can make some changes and you know, go out and seek more clients, etc. in your business. I think that's a really good thing to be working towards, is just getting, you know, and if you're not already full-time in your business, getting to be full-time in your business if that's what you want. You know, your business doesn't have to always be the sole part of your income. You know, you can do other things as well. It's actually allowed. You know, you can have a successful business and not just work full-time in it, and you know, just grow that to that level where you have that security, that you're meeting all of your financial needs through the business, and you've got that 6 months of running costs. I think that's a great thing to aim for. And then if you're a more established coach, then the next thing that you might want to be looking for is actually increasing that income. And you know, it might be that you pay yourself more, it might be that you start investing that income in different things. You know, there's all sorts of different things that you might want to do with that extra abundance, and I think that's a great place to be. It might be that you are saving some, it might be that for your financial security that you want to build up a year's worth of running costs and have that put away somewhere in like a high interest savings account, for example, where you know that that is there. I should also mention as well is that you do want to think about tax. So that's another thing that I sometimes like, not that I forget about tax, but I kind of just think I forget that it's going to be as much, and I have no problem in paying tax. Like for me, the mindset with tax is I pay tax when I am making a lot of money, and therefore I'm happy to pay tax. But sometimes it's a little bit more than I was expecting, and you just need to make sure that you're putting some money away to pay your taxes, whatever they might be in whatever country you're in. So those are some things to consider around financial safety. But ultimately, the invitation for you guys is to think about like, what does make you feel financially safe? Like, what do you need to have in place to make you feel financially safe in your business? Because that is such a foundational thing, and that's where all of the talk of the 5k months, 6-figure years, 7-figure years, all of the talk of that has to be on that foundation of financial safety, or else you'll just be like, it'll be like trying to fill a hole that will never get full. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have that foundation in your business and that feeling of financial safety as well. And then finally, I wanted to talk about something that's come up for me. I've talked about this in some other episodes of the show, but that is the relationship that you are in with your business. And I find this really helpful way to think about it, because I think when you're a coach, it can be really easy to feel like you and your business are like one entity. And I don't necessarily think that that is super helpful. I think a much more helpful way to think of it is that we are in a relationship with our businesses. And for me, it's a bit like, and this is just because I sit and watch YouTube videos, and there's someone I follow on YouTube, I'll have to see if I can remember her name, but she talks a lot about relationships, and it's like, you deserve more than the bare minimum, you deserve princess treatment. And I thought, if you think about your business and being in a relationship with it, and I thought it was a really lovely energy to be in. I deserve more than my business just giving me the bare minimum. I deserve princess treatment, and that's the kind of energy that I am stepping into with my business in terms of how it supports me. I've often talked about how can we look at the multitude of ways that our business is actually giving back to us. It can feel like, especially at the start, that you're giving so much to your business and not getting a lot back. But if you start to really look at the different ways that your business is supporting you, not just financially, that can be really helpful. And that can often lead to more financial abundance if we look at the relationship in that way. But I think just saying I'm not here for bare minimum for my business, I'm here for princess treatment, has been quite a helpful little thing for me. And also something else that comes from this in a similar kind of way is this feeling of trust. So again, like I say, I struggled with this feeling of financial safety for many, many years, and it still crops up every now and again. And ultimately what kept happening, and this is going back to the early days, is stuff kept showing up, money kept showing up, clients kept showing up, things just kept showing up. And here I am 10 years, 11, 12 years later, the money just keeps showing up. And for me, it's the trust thing. There's a big element of trust that makes me feel safe. And it's difficult, I think, sometimes to find that without having the track record of it. But I have the track record now. So part of it is trusting myself, and that I am resourceful, and that I know what to do in terms of making sure that I'm financially safe. So there's that side of it. There's also a trust in the universe that it's going to take care of me and that it's going to look after me. There's a trust in what I've built in my business, that I have built something with enough sustainability, and that I've built something the right way, and trusting in that, and trusting in myself that I've built that really helps me with my feeling of financial safety. It's that trust element that has been really important for me over the years. And like I say, there's been so many different times I've been like, oh, what's happening? Oh, I'm feeling a bit, I'm having a wobble. I don't feel safe financially. But then something comes in, and time after time after time after time after time, money shows up, something comes in, it just happens. And now that I've got that track record, I'm able to trust it more. So it might be that over time, you start to notice that pattern, and that you're able to trust yourself, trust your business that you are setting up, and trust the universe as well. So I think that these things are just so important and really helpful in feeling good in your business. When I talk about Wholehearted Business, which is my 6-month group program, what I want to help people with, amongst a multitude of other things, is setting up a business that you can trust, that is set up on a really strong foundation, so that you can develop that trust with your business, that you've got all the things in place, that you are building something that is still going to be here in 10, 15, 20 years time, so that you have that financial security and that trust in what it is that you create. And so that's another thing in terms of how I want to support people, is just knowing that you're building a business that is actually sustainable as well. It's not a flashy, exciting thing, I'm not talking about, hitting 6 figures, but I am talking about building a business that you can trust, and trust in yourself as well. So I really hope that this general conversation about financial security and safety has been helpful. Quick reminder, right now as I speak, I have 3 slots available for my Get It Done program, which is a 3 to 4 month one-to-one and kind of hands-on support program to help you get something specific done before the end of the year. So if that sounds good to you, basically if you want to develop a course, if you want to set up an email list and get the freebie and everything set up and set up like the sales funnels, if you want to rebrand, if you want to create a completely new business model, anything specific that you want to achieve that perhaps you've been feeling like you just have been a bit blocked, you can't move forward with, then that's the kind of thing I can help you with in get it done. I'm very hands-on in that. So what I saw with some people that I was working with and what I kind of see in the online business space is that sometimes like the coaching, the mentoring just isn't enough, and actually you just need someone, for want of a better phrase, to just step in and do it for you. And actually that's something that I'm really happy to do. I've got, you know, a design background. I am a total tech geek, so I can do a lot of the tech stuff and also have the background in strategy and mentoring and coaching and all of my own experience in growing a coaching business. So if you want a little piece of that before the end of the year, if there's something that you want to get done, and look at the price, check out the link in the description, check out the price, because it probably is a little bit less than maybe you would expect for a program like this. I've tried to price it at a really, really good level so that it's accessible, and it ultimately at the end of the day, at the end of that offer, at the end of us completing that, you are going to have some kind of very physical asset for your business, whether it's a course, whether it's a new brand, whether it's launching a new, you know, something new in your business, like whatever it is, you're going to have something very tangible at the end of it. So do check that out if you're interested in learning more. But I do hope that this has been helpful. Please let me know if this has been useful. Pop me an email, laura@wholeheartedlaura.com, or DM me on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlaura as well, or leave me a comment. That would be amazing. And do like and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. And I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.